Okay, I think we're good. It looks like it anyway.
Hello.
I can see that
We're
our audio
here.
is going where it's supposed to be. We're good.
Hey, that's great.
I'm gonna turn that down just.
Welcome to VäkPäker's Guide to TTRPGs. I'm Emily. This is Artemis. We're here.
To fix the microphone.
Are we good?
I think so.
Okay?
Looks like it.
Cool.
It looks like it's working.
Sweet. I see our faces on a screen, so that also helps.
Step in the right direction, at least.
Exactly.
I'll take it.
Yeah. You know, sometimes just something working correctly is enough. Hello, everyone. Welcome to VäkPäker's Guide. I'm just going to go through some announcements real quick. Our sponsor for tonight is Canadian Dice, as always. Go to canadiandice.ca and use the code TheVactaire, all one word, at checkout for now 15% off your order. Not 10%. 15. Maggie's dice pick of the week was Royal Spender because they are not peasant dice. They're very pretty purple, sparkly kind of dice. Yeah, they're nice. So check those out. Second, check out our merch store at tinyurl.com/vacmerch. You can get excellent designs like Half-Orc Energy, the Vac Blob. Splouth is on a shirt now. I'm just saying. I recently ordered one. Who knows when it'll get here, but I'm very excited. So check those out. You can get Splouth's face on a whole bunch of stuff. And many, many other things. Yeah, check it out. Next, going through our schedule for the week. Tomorrow, Affy and Artemis are on DM Jeremy's channel for Legacy of Fire at 7:30 Eastern. Aren't you guys going to a big city, or did you already head there?
We already went there. Now we're going into the Temple of Ra in Harakir.
Oh, goody. Temples definitely don't mean bad things in Jeremy's games, so be sure to watch for that.
What could possibly go wrong? We're in the domains of
Temples,
dread. What could possibly go wrong?
Temples, tombs, domains of dreads, mist everywhere. Yeah, check it out.
What could go wrong?
Monday night, back on the Vactaire here for Mistwalkers at 8:30. They're also in the domains, so who knows what's going to happen, honestly. They're going to Barovia. Best of luck to you.
At least lucky for us, Strahd is already dead, but who knows who's in charge now that Strahd is dead. So.
Oh my gosh, can it be my... Never mind.
Your crazy paladin person?
No, she's not a paladin. She's a druid.
Oh yeah, that's right. She's a druid warlock. That's right.
And she's definitely not totally messed up. On Wednesday, head over. That's on Cantrips and Coffee.
Yep.
Right. Yep. For the Society, which is their Call of Cthulhu game. That's at 9 p.m. Eastern. I do love spooky Cthulhu-y kind of game. It's good stuff. Then Thursday, back here again for a Song of Crystal and Shadow at 8:30 p.m. That's our Final Fantasy game. And then Friday evening, Fixies 5, 8:30 p.m. We're stuck in the Feywild. Woo!
What could possibly go wrong? The Feywild's in the wrong place. You guys are stuck. It's fine. Everything's fine.
So yeah, that is our schedule. I said that for you, Liz. That was so not English, but hi, Liz. You did amazing this morning.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Tonight we're going to get into spells in the player's handbook.
And for the next several sessions. Because this is going to take a hot minute.
A million years. We're going to do cantrips first because everybody loves a cantrip. And I think mine are in alphabetical order.
Yeah, mine are too. So
we are not going exactly like through the physical book. We're gonna do this on D&D Beyond because you can filter things, so that way we can filter them by level.
Yeah, because in the book they're listed alphabetically in the book, and they bounce from all over the place, like
all over.
So we're gonna start with the baby spells because we know them so well, and just work our way to the ones that we don't know because we don't get to use them. So
yeah. Which, anything above 5th level, really.
Yeah. Although you guys are getting some now because you guys are 12th level, so
yeah,
you're starting to get.
That's true.
What level spells do Karini have now? 6 levels?
Well, I have 5th level spells, 6th level slot.
Okay, so yeah, Aster's got 6 level spells.
Yes. It's because I'm multi-classed.
Choices were made.
Choices were made, but I still get 6 level slots, so that's
all that matters.
I think next level I get 6 level spell. Anyway.
Yeah, something like that.
The first cantrip on our list is Acid Splash. It does 1d6 acid damage, which gradually improves as you level up as a character.
Yeah, most cantrips are that way, you'll find, where they level up with you. So like at 5th level, 11th, and 17th. This one they have to be within 5 feet.
Of
and it requires a dexterity saving throw.
Because you can this one is nice for multiple reasons.
Mm-hmm.
One, it's a damage type that not a lot of creatures are resistant to.
Yeah, exactly.
So when in doubt, use acid. But also it says you can choose 1 or 2 creatures.
Yeah, so if you have to be right next to each other.
Yeah. But if you have 2 enemies next to each other, you can just bloop and get them both.
Mm-hmm. Which is nice.
It's nice.
Because if you're still low enough level that you're using cantrips like that, like any kind of lower level like character is good, that's good for them to be able to hit more than one target. So
yeah, just any kind of like area of effect or multiple people can be hit with a cantrip. That's dope. Yeah, pretty self-explanatory.
As with pretty much all cantrips, if they save, they don't take any damage.
Yep. The next one,
fairly simple.
Yeah, I think that's it. Range of 60 feet, so pretty decent distance. Just kind of sploot.
Yeah,
it says you hurl a bubble of acid, so
right.
Take that.
Flavor that like. A couple of different ways. How you do that? I've seen it done a couple of different ways. So,
I mean, a little splash of LSD. Yeah,
like you
know. Yeah. Honestly, it would be funny if we ever do the Oops All Splurbloffs.
They all have that as a spell.
Yeah. They have like acidic spit or something.
That'd be great.
It'd be kind of fun. The next one is a more protective spell called Blade Ward. It gives you resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage for a turn.
Yep. The only issue that I have with this one is that it's an action to do that. Like, I think it would be it would be better if it was a bonus action, but also it's a cantrip. So,
yeah. And it says dealt by weapon attacks. So you can't cast it and then jump off a building and
it doesn't make you a god.
Expect that you won't take fall damage.
Exactly.
But but from a weapon, that's pretty good though. I mean, well, I wish it was a bonus action.
Yeah. That's really my main thing with it too.
I think there are more cantrips that could be bonus actions, especially some that are supposed to be like buffing spells
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
instead of like active damage situations. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. And
That's just me.
were we gonna say like what school of magic they were? I don't remember if we were gonna
Oh,
do
we
that or not.
can. So, Acid Splash is conjuration, presumably because you are literally conjuring up some acid out of thin air.
Mhm. And
Uh,
abjuration is protection magic.
yep. So that's why Blade Ward is abjuration. Yeah,
Next up, we've got Chill Touch. I like Chill Touch
I do
because
too.
it's got a good range on it for one.
Yeah, it's a far away cantrip.
Yep.
Also, it's cool because it's for necromancy.
Yep. And
Anything that
so
does necrotic damage makes you just like a cool, edgy kid.
mhm. There is what spell is it? Is it Revivify is considered necromancy? Which is something
I
I wouldn't have thought about.
It used to be, or Revivify might be.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I think Healing Word and
Those are both
they are different now, but they
yeah.
used to be.
Because we were looking
Uh,
at that when you guys got those apples from Cottonwood.
yeah. Oh, they're like evocation or something,
Yeah.
which you think
Yep.
is like damage dealing, but also it's healy.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
But for Chill Touch, it's nice because it's a ranged spell attack for one.
Yep.
And it does necrotic damage, which not a lot of people are like resistant to, especially if you're using like lower level stuff.
Hmm.
Not a lot of
Yep.
things are resistant to necrotic damage. Um
And so okay, so this one I always think doesn't make a lot of sense with the name. Like Chill Touch, you would think is a little bit like Shocking Grasp, where you reach out and like touch somebody, but it's cold. Are you okay?
yeah.
Is your cat
No.
freaking out?
No, I was just looking at because I got a follower alert, so I was just looking at
Oh,
that. But anyways, yeah, and so like other
hi.
cantrips, this one levels with you as well at like 5th, 11th, and 17th, which is nice.
Yeah. The other nice thing about this one is it has it's a range attack that's pretty far, but also even if the person that you hit with it is resistant to necrotic damage, or if they are um even immune to necrotic damage, it doesn't matter because still if you hit them, they can't regain hit points. So if it's
Mhm.
like a creature that has like a troll or something that can
Yeah,
like
regain.
regenerate or
Yep.
something like that, to
Yeah, it's a
hit them
nice
with
one.
this, then they can't heal. Sweet. Um Also, undead targets have disadvantage on attack rolls against you if you hit them with this. Really helpful in a place like Barovia.
Yeah, definitely.
um, or
um, or literally,
really,
any of the domains, really.
yeah. And even if you just like know you're going into a crypt or something, it's like chill touch will be useful here.
Um, yeah, and we said that one is necromancy. So,
Yep, which makes sense. Necrotic damage, necromancy.
yep. Next up is Dancing Lights, and that one is evocation because you're summoning stuff.
Yeah. It
And
also has a range of 120 feet, but it's like they spread out. You can spread them out in a line up to 120 feet,
yeah,
basically.
which is nice, for like if you're going down a hallway and you're not entirely sure if there's going to be traps or something like that. It's a good use of that.
Yeah.
Um, entertaining your Kenku,
With
like you
shiny
do. Yes,
things.
with shiny things. It's great. It's fine. What could possibly go wrong?
um, I have not played Dark and Darker. What is that?
Me either.
Is it a role-playing game? It sounds interesting. Is it like I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued.
You're intrigued.
Not gonna lie. It sounds like a good like horror game or something. Um,
Have to be within 20 feet of each other.
yes.
But you can move
So
them 60 feet, which is nice.
you can move them, like pattern them in a square to fill a room. You can pattern them in a line to help your group go down a hall. The downside with this one is its concentration. But you can keep recasting it every minute. You can flavor them to look like whatever kind of light you want. And you can also combine them to make one glowing, vaguely humanoid form of medium size. So you can make a glowy person that walks with you.
Yeah, exactly. And like you could really mess with somebody with that, like for RP reasons. Like that would be fun to sort of trip them up with stuff like that. You just like, I send my little glowy person 120 feet down the
Yeah.
hallway.
Yeah. And just see if anything attacks it.
Exactly. Although I don't know that it necessarily, because it doesn't have weight to it. So it doesn't, like, it wouldn't set off like floor traps.
Like
I
a
don't
trap.
think.
Yeah, that's true.
But you could
But it
still send it
could
down the hallway to like,
pull attention.
yeah. Say there's like, arrow slits or something like that. It's gonna go past. It could pull attention for that, which would be good.
Yeah.
And that one is concentration.
Yes.
Mhm.
Which could be good, could be bad.
Yeah, and there's not really a lot of cantrips that are concentration, which is good, but there are a few.
The next one on our list is one of my favorites.
Druidcraft.
Yeah. Much to no one's surprise, a spell for druids.
No, you don't say.
It's a transmutation spell. It does have a range, which is interesting because you can do like little effects up to a range. You can predict the weather for the next 24 hours. So you like cast Druidcraft to see like if it's going to be sunny, if it's going to be rainy, whatever.
Yep.
It's like the weather ball in Grand Rapids for anyone who's familiar with Grand Rapids, Michigan. There's probably weather balls in a lot of other places too. You can make a flower blossom or seed pod open or a leaf bud bloom.
Yep.
You can create an instantaneous harmless sensory effect, such as falling leaves, a puff of wind, the sound of a small animal, or the faint odor of a skunk, and it must fit in a 5-foot cube. Or you can light, I always forget this part, you can light or snuff out a candle, a torch, or a small campfire with Druidcraft.
Yep. Which, again, this one is good for like role-playing situations because you can do a lot of fun stuff with it. And
yeah,
I think
really handy for if you have to put out your fire in a jiffy.
Yep. Or, at the end of Critical Role, you break everybody's heart because you're Liam.
Yep. If you've never watched Campaign 1 of Critical Role, you should do that.
Yep.
It's only a couple thousand hours.
It's 400 hours. 411 hours or something like that, I think.
Maybe I'm thinking of like
altogether, I think it's like 1,000 hours.
Yeah, everything. All the campaigns.
And that one is transmutation. So
transmutation. It changes things.
Yeah. Next one up is every warlock's favorite cantrip because it's the only one that really counts.
Eldritch Blast.
This one's evocation because you're damaging things with it.
Yep. It has a good range, 120 feet.
Yep. And so it's a beam of crackling energy that streaks towards a creature. And
so you roll to attack. They don't save.
Yeah. And it does force damage, which again, not a lot of things have resistance to, which is nice.
And it does a D10 of force damage, which is nice.
Yeah. Especially if you're low level, that's good.
Yeah, doing a D10 of damage is pretty good. Also, you roll for each beam, so like Once you hit 5th level, you do 2 attacks. At 11th level, you get to do 3 attacks. So even if you miss with one, you might hit with another one. And warlocks have all sorts of we may have talked about this when we talked about warlocks a little bit, but they have all sorts of things that they can use to like add to their Eldritch Blast
Yeah.
or
So when I was
change the
playing,
effects of it.
yeah, so when I was playing Aya on Legacy of Fire, because she was a warlock, I had, it was Eldridge Madness or something like that, where like
Oh.
basically it added extra damage, and if I hit the creature, they had to make a save, and then they were scared of me or
Ooh,
something like that. I can't remember exactly
that's
the
cool.
exact wording, but it was pretty cool, and I didn't know about it until I was like making Aya. So I was like, "Ooh, that sounds like fun. Let's do that."
There's some that you can do too that will either like push someone away or pull them closer to you.
Yep. Yeah.
And there's also somewhere I think you can add your charisma mod
Yes. Yep.
to the damage, if
That
I'm
was
not
one of the
mistaken.
evocations that I had for Aya. So
Yeah, which honestly worth it.
yeah, definitely. Because anytime that you can like up your rolls for those is great.
Yeah. Well, and especially because like warlocks don't get a lot of spell slots.
Yeah.
So having Eldritch Blast, nice.
Yeah. And again, this one levels up with you. You get
Yep.
3 beams at level 5 and 4 at level 11. Or sorry, 2 at 5, 3 at 11, and 4 at 17.
Yes. Yes. Um Speaking of spells that go a long way and do 1d10 damage, the next spell on cantrip on the list is Firebolt.
Mm-hmm.
This is for our sorcerers, wizards, and it says artificer on here too.
And I believe Sun Soul monks get this.
Really?
I think so. I can't remember if it's this one or if it's Sacred Flame.
Or something like it potentially?
Yeah. I can't
Yeah.
remember if it's this one or if it's Sacred Flame, but I know that they get something that like basically turns you into Vegeta. So yeah.
Um this one does shockingly fire damage.
You don't say. It's got
It
another good
has a
range on
range.
it too.
Yeah,
So
120, 120. Pretty good. Again, it does scale up, except the difference with between Firebolt and Eldritch Blast, obviously the damage type is different.
yep.
But Firebolt, you don't roll separately for multiple bolts. Your one singular bolt gets more powerful.
Gets more powerful, yeah. And it lights anything on fire that isn't being worn or carried, which is fun.
Yeah. So
So
you could burn a town down with
mhm.
fire bolts with cantrips.
If you're so
If you
inclined.
feel if you're feeling particularly evil,
Exactly.
that's an option for you.
I feel like Ram would do that just because they can.
I mean, maybe. Didn't they before my character started, didn't they burn somewhere down or
Yeah,
something?
they burned a warehouse down. To be fair, the people that owned the warehouse were in the slave trade business, so you know
Okay, well deserved.
they got a pass on that one.
Yeah.
So
And
next
that
up
one's
is oh yeah,
oh, I was gonna say that one's evocation as well.
yep,
Does damage.
damage. Next one up is Friends, and this one is a fun spell for a couple of reasons, but it's enchantment and concentration. Um, and so
Yeah, one of
for
the
the
few
duration, you
concentrations.
have advantage on all charisma checks directed at one creature of your choice that isn't hostile towards you. When the spell ends, the creature realizes that you use magic to influence its mood and becomes hostile towards you. A creature prone to violence might attack you. Another creature might seek retribution. So it's got a couple of different components to it. So like it's great
Yeah.
for like if you have to do something in a hurry and you panic,
Yep.
but it's also got like a negative thing to it too, where like they know that you use magic on them. So,
Yep.
also we gotta
It's fun
hydrate.
for the player. Ooh. It's fun for the player and for the DM.
Exactly. Fun for the whole
The,
family.
the player gets to manipulate people, and the DM gets to punish you for it.
Exactly.
if they
If they
are
so
so
choose.
inclined.
And let's see here.
Good for bards.
Yep. And that
Charisma
one,
people.
that's one of the ones that has a range of self because you are technically casting it. See, that's where I always had an issue with this one because I thought it should be like touch because you're technically doing it on another person. Self to me always
Oh,
makes me think that you're doing it on yourself, but technically that's not how it always works. So the
yeah.
wording can be a little confusing.
Maybe you're kind of like sparklefying yourself
Could be,
in a
yeah,
way.
like glamoring somebody a little
Yeah.
bit.
It does
So,
say, so like sometimes when a cantrip or something requires, when a spell requires material components,
mhm.
the little box will tell you what it requires. And this one says a small amount of makeup applied to the face as the spell is cast. So maybe that's like why the range itself is you're just
Could be, yeah. The I've
wipe a
seen
little lip gloss on and you're like, hey.
I've seen somebody do this spell where they put the little football lines on, and that's how they
Amazing.
cast the spell.
That's
So,
great. Love it.
I'm like, I'm here for that. It's good.
Yeah,
It's good
that's
nonsense.
pretty good.
Anytime you can flavor your spells is great, you know?
Yeah, I really think because I don't necessarily think that the material components are always a necessary element
Yeah, but they're
of
fun for roleplay
spells.
purposes,
Yeah,
especially if
like
you have a component pouch too, because
it,
you just assume that you
yeah,
have them.
yep, yep,
So,
exactly. Like obviously some have higher level spells have like money cost,
mhm.
and those you can't get away as
Just
easily with
skeleton is
like
drag look.
yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. Um, but it is fun, like, because sometimes you see what they put there, but like you could also potentially think of your own components for something.
Mhm. Yeah, if it's something that makes
It,
sense to like why your character would do that instead, yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
I would be totally down for that as a DM.
that'd be cool.
And we said that one was enchantment. So
Yep.
next up is guidance. Guidance is good for like if you want to if you're playing a sort of utility character,
Mhm.
like guidance is good for that because you can give your party member the ability to add a d4 to their roll and add it
Yep.
to like an ability check of their choice. There is one that allows you to add it onto attacks too, but it's not this one.
Uh, Bless,
Is it
which is a
bless?
first level
Okay.
spell, lets you do that. There's also Resistance lets you add a d4 to a saving throw.
Yep.
Which we'll get to because that one's a cantrip too.
Yep.
Um, I do think it's interesting that this one is also a concentration one. It lasts for a minute. So once you cast it on somebody, it only lasts for a minute, and once it's used up, it's gone.
Gone. Yep. But to be
Yeah.
fair, a minute in combat is 10 rounds.
Oh yeah.
Like that's a long time
The
because each round
downside
is
with
6
this
seconds.
one is that I mean, again, it's an action, so and it only does ability checks. So if you're in combat and you're like or in a like initiative situation where you're going through turns but it's not necessarily combat, it could still be really useful
Yeah.
just to be able to help, like if you're like my
You have to
cleric
make
is not good at investigation, but I know the rogue is, so I'll tap them with guidance so that they can find the lever that will open the trap door that will get us out of this room that's filling with water or whatever.
exactly. Yep. Pull the lever, crunk.
Wrong lever!
uh
That
yeah,
has come up
and
so many
A
times.
lot, yeah. And that one is divination, which makes sense
Yes.
because you're picking how the direction is going to go. So it makes sense
Now
why
I
it's
feel
divination.
bad that Karini doesn't have it now.
Yeah, because
'Cause I
she's
feel
a
like she should.
divination. Yeah.
That will have to be the next cantrip I take.
There you go.
Well, I guess maybe. Um, yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. That's why when you watch actual plays, anytime that they're just in non-combat and people are just
Like guidance, guidance,
looking for
guidance.
stuff or doing skill checks, you just hear someone be like, guidance.
Exactly.
The one thing I have seen people get caught up on, because it has verbal and somatic components. So one thing that we like with spells, and it depends on how you want to play it. Like none of this is necessarily part of the rules or anything, but it will tell you if a spell has certain components to be able to cast it. And if a spell has verbal and somatic components, that means that you say something and do something with your hands. So like you might say like abracadabra or whatever, and
Yep.
you have to like do a gesture. So if you're in a situation where you're like trying to convince somebody of something and someone that is next to you is being very persuasive, it could be difficult to cast guidance on them as they're trying to persuade someone, just because whoever they're trying to persuade will see you cast the spell.
Exactly. So use it with caution,
Yeah.
I guess.
Or use it indiscriminately, just like every D&D group.
Exactly. So next up we have light, and this is an evocation spell. Even though it doesn't really do damage, but you're still sort of summoning a thing, I guess. You're pulling light out of nowhere. It has a duration of an hour and range of 20 feet. Or up
I
to
think
20
this
feet.
one is interesting in contrast with Dancing Lights, because Dancing Lights is a concentration spell.
Yeah.
Light is not a concentration spell. You have to cast it on something. So like an object that you're carrying, like your staff or whatever.
And then that has
but
a
then it
20
just
foot
lasts
radius.
for an hour.
Yeah.
So it just lasts for an hour. So
yeah, so it gives you bright light for 20 feet and dim light for 20 feet. So technically it has a 40-foot radius, but the bright light is centered 20 feet around that.
So like if you wanted to cast Pass Without a Trace, which seems like silly if you're also casting light, but
that light's always been there. What are you talking about?
What do you mean? Moving lights through this dark tunnel? Of course.
Totally fine.
So if you have to concentrate on something else, this is handy. Also it says the light can be colored as you like. You can completely cover the light with something opaque to block the light. And if you cast it again or use an action, you can dismiss it.
Yep. If you target an object worn by a hostile creature, that creature has to succeed on a dexterity saving throw to avoid the spell. So like if you're trying to like light something up so that another teammate can hit them, then they have to make a dexterity saving throw or the spell doesn't take any effect.
I kind of like it.
Interesting. Yeah.
That's why I have this one and not Dancing Lights. Because it's not concentration.
Gaslighting and light spells. There you go.
You know, it does. It's a thing.
Yes, it is. Next up, we've got Mage Hand.
Mage Hand. This one is your wizard spell. Your arcane trickster rogue probably wants this one. Your warlock that got their hand cut off.
Wonder who that could be. Who could you possibly be referring to? Surely nobody in the Vactaire.
Never. It lasts for a minute, so that can make whatever Athelstan was suggesting a little more difficult, having to recast it all the time.
Yeah.
Uh, it has a range of 30 feet. It can like manipulate things, so it can open things. Like, this is why arcane tricksters have mage hand. They can pick locks with it.
Hmm.
Uh, open like disarm a trap from far away, so it doesn't. So if it goes wrong, you're not next to it. Um, it does say the hand cannot attack, activate magic items, or carry more than 10 pounds.
Yep. I think Bigby's hand can carry more weight, right?
Yes, Bigby's
Yeah.
hand has basically giant strength.
Yeah. Yep.
I think it has like a +8 to strength or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yep.
It's
Because you can do a
wild.
few different things with that. So
I mean, you can pick up whole people and
yeah.
shove.
Yep.
Yeah,
But
you
this
can
one
do all
is good
sorts of stuff.
for like if you're like if you can see that there's a lever across a room and to get, like you'll to get across the room it's going to set off a trap if you don't pull the lever first. So you can like manipulate that way. It's good
Mhm.
for that kind of thing. So makes it
Yep.
really kind of ideal for like um the like whoever you're using as a trap springer in your campaign.
Yes, which is often a rogue, but not always a rogue.
Yes, not always. Sometimes it's
Not
just
always.
the entire party. It's fine.
Yeah.
There was a booby trap and we
Um
boobied right into it. It happens.
uh that one's conjuration. It does say that the hand is visible, but it's like spectral, which is interesting. I think
I've always seen it like where I think there's an actual miniature for Mage Hand and it's like pale purple. It's like see-through
yeah,
purple.
it's like a little whoop. I believe arcane tricksters get an ability in later levels where they can make it fully invisible. Um, and I believe they can use it to give them like to give someone help on an attack or like do a distraction or something like that.
Yeah, I think like it imposes disadvantage or something like that. They can use
Yeah,
it
that might.
something like that. I don't remember exactly. I haven't played an arcane trickster, so
Me either, but I vaguely recall. Vaguely recall. Hang on.
do the
Uh,
Googles.
uh,
Yeah. And that has a 30-foot radius or range on it. So you can use it. It's fairly decent.
oh, okay. Yeah, so starting at 3rd level for an arcane trickster, when you cast Mage Hand, you can make the spectral hand invisible, and you can
Okay.
perform the following additional tasks with it. You can stow one object the hand is holding in a container worn or carried by another creature. That's interesting.
Hmm.
So you could put something in someone else's pocket, basically.
Okay. So if you're trying to frame somebody like in Skyrim.
Yeah. Or like get a vial of healing potion or something to somebody,
Yep.
put it in their pocket. You can retrieve an object in a container worn or carried by another person, so get yourself a healing potion.
Yep.
You can use thieves' tools to pick locks and disarm traps at range. You can perform one of these tasks without being noticed by a creature if you succeed on a sleight of hand check, contested by the creature's perception check.
Yep.
In addition, you can use your bonus action to control the hand.
Nice.
Oh, this is what I'm thinking of. At 13th level, you gain the ability to distract targets with your mage hand. As a bonus action on your turn, you can designate a creature within 5 feet of the spectral hand created by the spell. Doing so gives you advantage on attack rolls against them. So that's actually really helpful uh for a rogue,
Hmm.
because then you get to have advantage and you get your sneak attack.
Yes. Which is cool. And we said that was conjuration. So yep. I think
Yep.
that pretty much covers that one. Next up
Yeah.
is mending, and that's a transmutation spell. So
Mending.
again, this one, because you're changing things, obviously, that's why it's transmutation. This one is a touch spell, and uh, this spell repairs a single break or tear in an object that you touch, such as a broken chain link, two halves of a broken key, a torn cloak, or a leaking wineskin. As long as the break or tear is no larger than 1 foot in any dimension, you mend it, leaving no trace of the former damage. The spell can physically repair a magic item or construct, but the spell can't restore magic to the item.
Yep.
So,
Also worth noting, unlike most of the other cantrips, which take an action, this one takes 1 minute every time you cast it.
yep.
But then
So, when you're trying to repair a leaking boat, it
it
kind
takes
of
a while.
works, but kind of not.
Yeah.
But yeah, that one's fairly straightforward as far as what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next one up is message. This one's great if you like messing with your party members because it's a short range sort of message spell that like you can send to other people and they get like a message in their brain.
Mm-hmm.
It's let's see. This one also is a transmutation spell. It's got a range of
Yeah.
120 feet. You point your finger towards a creature within range and whisper a message. The target and only the target hears the message and can reply in a whisper that only you can hear. You can cast this spell through solid objects if you are familiar with the target and know it is beyond the barrier. Magical silence, 1 foot of stone, 1 foot of common metal, a thin sheet of lead, or 3 feet of wood blocks the spell. Okay. I didn't know that about the common metal. I thought it was just lead, but good to know.
Yeah.
The spell
I
doesn't have
did
to follow
not
a straight line. I didn't know that.
I didn't realize that magical silence also would block message. Which I guess, I mean, it would make sense if you're in the magical silence, because then you can't cast anything.
Yeah.
But if someone else is in magical silence, you also can't send them a message. That's interesting to me.
Yeah.
At least that's
Yeah.
how I'm reading this.
Yeah, like it blocks it, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of underrated spells,
Yeah.
silence. Use it. We'll get to that one. I love that spell though.
Yeah.
I love silence. I don't know why.
Next up is minor illusion. So obviously this is an illusion spell because duh.
Sure. Yeah.
It's got a 30-foot range and a 5-foot. It affects a 5-foot square or 5-foot cube.
Which is actually a decent amount of space.
Yeah, like there was somebody that was like, oh, 5 feet's not really that big, but they measured it out. They measured a 5 foot by 5 foot and actually showed how big it was. And it's actually more space than you would think, considering.
Yeah, almost a full person.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like, I'm taller than 5 feet, but like, it's like the full like arm reach of a person.
Yep. Yeah.
With like lunging included. Yeah, this is a pretty good spell, especially because you can do a sound.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fun, but you can also do, excuse me, you can do an image, which I think is what most people think of with minor illusion, but like, you can do a smell.
Mm-hmm.
I think, right?
Is that
right?
this one?
Maybe
Again.
that's just Druidcraft. Oh, nope, you can't do a smell. The image can't create sound, light. Oh, the image can't create sound, light, smell, or other sensory effect.
So
You
it's
create
just
a sound or an image, though.
Yeah, it's just like a static thing. So like
It's a static
it can't
thing.
move. So
Yeah.
If you create an image of an object such as a chair, muddy footprints, or a small chest, it must be no larger than a 5-foot cube. So a physical interaction with the imagery with the image reveals it to be an illusion. So
Yeah.
if you try to touch it, it would obviously pass right through.
Also, a creature can use its action to examine the sound or image, making an investigation check. If they succeed against your spell save DC, they can tell that it's an illusion.
Yep. Pretty good.
Interesting. That one also lasts a minute. And it is obviously an illusion spell. Because it's minor illusion.
The audacity.
Now here, speaking of cantrips that are pretty good. Poison spray.
Also very underused.
Yeah. I do think there are more creatures that are resistant or immune to poison.
Yeah, especially in like other books that aren't necessarily the player's handbook. Because like obviously Yanti, like Aster, they're immune to poison, and Ram is resistant to poison, so
if you're doing like a Tomb of Annihilation,
yeah, this might not be as effective in that campaign, but
but if you do use this, I mean, luckily you have more than one cantrip, so you can pick and choose. But this one, you extend your hand toward a creature you can see within range, which the range is only 10 feet, so it's not that far. But you project a puff of noxious gas from your palm. The creature must succeed on a Constitution saving throw or take 1d12 poison damage. Obviously,
so it's basically a poisonous fart cloud from your hand.
Yeah. But it does a lot of damage.
It does, yeah. For a cantrip, yeah, that's a lot of damage.
That's pretty good.
That's like, I think Toll the Dead, right? Does that as well? Does a D12?
Yes.
Which is also another cantrip, which we'll talk
about.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that when we get to it, because it has a condition on it for the D12. But
yep. But yeah, and again, like this, like other ones, spray. This one increases with your level too, so which is good.
Yeah. I have a dream of playing like a bog witch kind of character that has like all poison and acid spells.
Yeah.
And maybe a little bit similar to like Alyssa had,
or Lucy. Yeah.
Lucy. But yeah, just someone who's like really into botanicals and is just like, I'm poison. Aren't you proud of me? Yeah. That's a good one.
It is a good one. Next one, Prestidigitation. The spell is like I have seen this spell used to clean up more characters than I think I've seen it used for literally anything else. So like, it's a transmutation spell. It's got a 10-foot range.
Why Elise can't use it anymore.
Yep. You create an instantaneous, harmless sensory effect such as the shower of sparks, puff of wind, faint musical notes, or an odd odor. You create light or snuff out a candle, torch or small campfire. So it's similar to
Thaumaturgy?
Or Druidcraft.
Oh, yeah. Thaumaturgy as well. Yeah, it would be similar to that too.
Yep.
Which, again, we'll get to it. Alphabetical order, people.
You instantaneously clean or soil an object no larger than 1 cubic foot.
I still don't tell Maggie. I still want to use this to put peasant mud on Elise.
Do it. Do it.
Someday. Just for fun. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so you can chill, warm up, or flavor up to 1 cubic foot of non-living material. Make a color, small mark, or symbol appear on an object. You create a non-magical trinket or an illusory image that can fit in your hand that lasts until the end of your next turn. If you cast the spell multiple times, you can have up to 3 of its non-instantaneous effects active at one time. You can dismiss such such an effect as an action. So this one, it stacks on itself a little bit.
Yeah.
Which
Also, I
is kind of
didn't
cool.
realize it, but it lasts an hour.
Yeah, I didn't realize that either. I thought it was like a minute or
But I
10
think
minutes.
maybe that's for like making a mark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like if you're trying to like, make sure you're not going in a circle in a maze
Yeah.
or something
Or
like
make your
that.
food taste better.
Yep. Rick
Interesting.
says, I had a player one time use prestidigitation to fill someone's helmet with poop. That's amazing. That's amazing. I am here for that nonsense.
Oh no. But that's so funny.
It was their
You
first
know
time
what?
playing too. I mean,
People are afraid to play D&D sometimes because it can be very complicated. Like we're going through this massive list of spells and they're just cantrips, so I get it. But also, as a DM, I love playing with people who have never played before.
mhm. Yeah, new
I
players are great because they look
They're
at things so
so much
differently.
fun. Yeah, it's like someone who's a new player, when you have that realization that you can do anything, you
Mhm.
can try anything.
Yep. They're like, oh, I can really do this.
It's
It's like, yeah, sure,
brilliant.
why not? Give it a shot.
When I ran a one shot for my family, I had them in a house and a swarm of bats came out of a fireplace and attacked them. And my dad's character was a barbarian who had bagpipes. And he pulled out the bagpipes and started playing and scared away the bat.
Intimidation. Like you do.
It was such a great move, you
Exactly.
know? I love D&D. It's so much fun. Okay. Yeah, I love that it can stack
Hmm.
stuff. That you could do like full-on fireworks basically. Um that you can fill someone's helmet with poop.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
That you can make your food taste better. Like it's the perfect snob spell, to be honest. Oh, I love it. Okay. The
Uh,
next
yep.
one on our list is Produce Flame, which I think is just a druid spell, but also like fire genasi usually get this.
Yeah, I think so. Like as a racial trait, I believe this is the one that they get.
Yeah.
Like Earth Genasi get
Um,
Pass Without a Trace, and I think Fire Genasi get Produce Flame.
Produce Flame. It's a good cantrip.
Mm. Yeah.
It's fire damage, so it's a conjuration spell like the acid splash one was, where you're just like, poof, there's
Oop.
fire now.
Yep.
Um, it lasts 10 minutes.
Hmm.
So you could use it as a torch if you
Yep.
wanted to. You're just like holding fire in your hand. That looks really cool. You can also attack with it. You basically can fling the fire 30 feet
Yep.
and it does 1d8 damage. Fire
Which
damage.
is pretty good damage, for a cantrip.
Yeah.
So
And like
and
all the others, it levels up.
yep. And that's a conjuration spell too. So
Yeah. Ugh, so good.
next up is Ray
Such
of
a good.
Frost, which is an evocation spell. That one's got a 60-foot range on it, which I like Ray of Frost.
I do too. My druid who's in Barovia managed to somehow stay alive at level 4 in the village of Valaki because of this cantrip.
Okay.
Basically, someone was chasing her up the stairs, and I think he had like a pike or something. He was some guard or something.
Okay.
And she kept hitting him with this, and because it reduces his speed by 10 feet every
Hmm.
turn, he couldn't catch up.
Okay. Yeah, which is good. So
Yeah, and she managed to stay alive with like 2 hit points for a long time. Love it
yep.
spell.
That never happens in Strahd. What are you talking about?
Never. Also, it does cold damage, which is,
Yep.
I think, underutilized sometimes.
Yeah. You see a lot of like fire damage, but
good
not
cold
as
spell.
much cold.
Yeah. I love a good cold spell. And because it does damage, it has a range of 60 feet, and it is an evocation spell.
Yep. Next up is resistance. This is another concentration spell.
Yep.
Um,
This is the saving throw counterpart to guidance.
Yep. And it's an abjuration spell. Which makes sense because I think the other one is also abjuration.
Yeah.
You touch one willing creature once before the spell ends. The target can roll a d4 and add that to a saving throw.
So you get yourself a cleric who's very wise. And every time you know someone's about to do something foolish, you cast resistance on them.
Exactly.
I
Like
think Karani's used it a couple times on people. Just to be like,
cast resistance as they run away from me.
You're going to that room with like a cursed sarcophagus.
Yep.
Resistance.
Exactly. But yeah,
it's
a good one. Yeah, it's a good one.
I like again, we don't need to like go into all the material components and everything, but like some of them just amuse me. The material component for resistance is a miniature cloak.
Which, flavor that as you will.
Pull out your superhero doll and cast resist.
There you go. Next up after that is Sacred Flame. And this one is Evocation. So this one is your this is your cleric's cantrip that does things where it doesn't actually do fire damage. It does radiant damage.
God damage.
Yes. Which,
or demigod or whatever.
Like you do. And it's got a 60-foot range, and target must succeed on a dexterity saving throw, or they take 1d8 radiant damage. And this one is nice because you cover doesn't matter for this one.
Yeah.
So
I always forget too, because there are so many other cantrips that are like you're shooting something at somebody. I always forget that this one is like flame-like radiance descends on a creature, so it's just like a column of
it's like the god rays in cartoons.
Yeah.
Like at the beginning of The Simpsons.
But you like kind of hurt from it.
Yeah, great. Exactly. And like with all of the other ones that do damage, this one increases again as you level up. What's next?
I have to go to the next page.
Ooh, page 2.
Yes,
another
one
underused
bonus
spell.
action. Yeah, right? It's the one bonus action cantrip. The only one. Unless you are a grave cleric, then you get Spare the Dying as a bonus action.
Yes, which is dope.
Super great. Yeah, the only bonus action cantrip lasts a minute, and it basically makes a club or a quarterstaff a magical weapon. It also lets you use your spell casting ability instead of strength. So when you hit with it, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, which is good for
nice, actually.
It's good for like druids and like other things like that, because druids, they like their dexterity usually is better, or whatever their spellcasting is. For druids, it's what, wisdom?
Wisdom,
yeah. So, which is nice.
So it boosts your attack, and then on top of that, you do a d8 of damage, and it's magical.
Yeah.
So, which helps a lot for many creatures. Like some creatures in this game are resistant to non-magical damage.
Yep.
And so just having that ability to make your weapon magical, sweet.
Mm-hmm. Which is nice.
That one's Also transmutation.
Yep. Next up, we got Shocking Grasp. I like this spell. It's great.
I do too.
It's just zappy hands.
Lightning! Zzz.
Evocation with this one as well. I saw somebody flavor this as they used their socks on the floor and gathered up sparks, and that's how they cast it.
That's great. That's great.
So, yep.
Because it is a touch spell.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Ooh, and you have, so you make a spell attack instead of them making a saving throw.
Yep.
I did not realize this, but this is great. You have advantage on the attack roll if the target is wearing armor
metal.
made of metal.
Which makes sense.
I freaking love that.
Yeah.
Also, handy even if someone has resistance or immunity to lightning, because if you hit them with it, even if it doesn't do damage, they can't take reactions.
Yep. Which is nice. Which means that you
I
could move
love
away
that.
from them without them attacking you. So, it's a good in danger sort of spell.
Yeah. Good. It's a good spell. Also,
Yep.
who doesn't want to be Thor and just reach out and touch someone with lightning?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Next one
here we
is
go.
Spare the Dying. So this is the one that they changed it when Grave Domain Clerics came out. But it's a necromancy spell, and in the PHB it's an action, but if you're a Grave Domain Cleric you get it as a bonus action, which is nice.
Yes.
And also I believe Grave Domain Clerics can cast it at range.
Yes. So normally it's a touch spell, but I think Grave Domain has 30 feet.
Yeah. Which is good because you can't always get to the person right away. So.
And basically someone has 0 hit points, they're making death saving throws. If you cast this spell, they don't have to make death saves anymore.
Because
they
gives
stay
them stable.
Now, important to note, if they take more damage, they still lose death saves.
Yes.
But
it stops them from having to roll them.
Yeah. Exactly.
To that point. And it's an action.
Also, this spell has no effect on undead or constructs.
Mm-hmm.
Which I find interesting. Okay, now here's a question that's actually very important. Ram, this is important for my character personally, because I did not think about this. Ram. I realize Ram has 1,000,000 hit points. Is Ram a construct?
So
I feel like a construct doesn't have a soul.
Yeah, when we first talked about this, because we were talking about what if Ram goes down and they need to be revivified, it's because they have a soul plate that they count as a creature instead of
a construct.
Yes. I think I honestly don't remember now, because it's been a really long time since I've looked at the Warforged stat block. Or forged, I can spell. It's been a minute, but I think originally they were considered constructs.
Oh, like before they were playable?
Yes, I think originally they were, and then when Eberron came out, I think they're considered something else now. But I can't remember, and I don't have the actual stat block in front of me. But
I know they're for this and for some healing spells as well, there was a little bit of confusion as far as there's a book from Critical Role that it's like an official D&D book, and there is a character option in there called the Hollow One. And you have to read it very carefully, because it says you are affected by effects that are on undead, and so but also you show up as undead when a grave cleric or a paladin does their sense undead thing.
Yep.
But you are not technically undead. You're like a revenant.
Yeah.
So it's slightly different. I guess revenants are technically undead, but because the way that they've been playing it, like, they have a player character that's a hollow one,
Mhm.
and, like, she can be healed,
Yep.
and they've used Spare the Dying on her before too. So,
Yeah.
I think it's just that you read as undead, and
Yes.
you can be affected by turn undead.
Mhm. Yeah, and
But
also I think it kind of comes down to, like, the DM's discretion too for certain things. Like,
yeah.
for the Warforged, obviously, that comes down to the DM's discretion on how that works.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, and I
like,
wonder
my
how that would
Warforged
work.
are different from regular Warforged anyways because of the way I've, like, homebrewed them.
Yeah, yeah.
So, they're a little
Well,
bit
and
different
even
anyways.
I'm thinking about too, like, there are options, I think, from Tasha's to be like a Dampier,
Mhm. Which is
but
basically a
also your
vampire.
character could become a vampire
Mhm.
if you're in the wrong kind of situation.
Yep.
Um, and so I w this might change for them
Yeah.
because it says it has no effect on undead or constructs. So if you had a vampire in your game, they might not be able to
Yep.
be healed or be spared or whatever. I don't
Yeah.
know. That one is necromancy, by the way.
Mhm. So yeah, next up we got thaumaturgy. So this one is similar to the other ones that we've talked about already. This it's got a
Yeah,
30-foot range. This is the cleric version of all of that. You can make your voice extra loud. You can make flames flicker. Jester used it to blast windows open all the time. Like it
yeah.
was great.
You can do tremors in the ground.
Yep.
Um, ominous whispers, which I know they did before in campaign 2 as well.
Yep. And then you can alter the
Um,
appearance of your eyes, which is
which
oddly specific.
I think didn't Caduceus do that once?
Maybe like
He
he
was
made
like
them like glow or something.
something like that.
Yeah.
I don't remember. And it's similar to prestidigitation, where if you cast this spell multiple times, you can have up to 3 of its 1-minute effects active at a time. So that's interesting. It's another fun roleplay one.
Yeah.
Um, but also I feel like it could be good in situations where you're trying to intimidate someone
Mhm.
or scare someone.
Yep.
The ominous whispers is pretty great. Or if you want to distract somebody.
Or Rick says, or the right kind of situation. Don't judge my life choices if I become a vampire. Good to know, Rick.
Great. Next character, vampire.
Yep. He's already did the undead thing. Now he's got to do the vampire
Yep.
thing.
Got to do the
So,
vampire thing. Just a different kind of undead.
yep. And
Yeah, I
thaumaturgy
like
is
thaumaturgy.
transmutation.
Yep. Last minute. Pretty good. The next one is Thorn Whip. It's a pretty good spell too. Um, it's an action. It has 30-foot range. You can use this cantrip to create a long vine-like whip covered in thorns that lashes out at your command toward a creature in range. This one's another spell attack. It's a melee spell attack, so you have to be within 30 feet of someone. But that also means you can make a melee attack within 30 feet, which is cool. Because then you're out of their range potentially.
Yep.
Um, when if the attack hits, the creature takes 1d6 piercing damage, and if the creature is large or smaller, you pull them up to 10 feet closer to you.
Which is good, but not also not always.
Yeah, I will say this is another one of those spells that I've seen used in interesting ways. I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure they used this in Critical Role Campaign 1
Yeah,
to
Keyleth pulled Vax out of
save
the
someone.
fire. She
Yeah,
pulled Vax out of lava with this.
yeah, yeah. Um, and so I mean, takes it does damage,
Mhm.
but you could use it in many ways. If
Yep.
someone's trying to get away from you, you could use it to bring them back.
Mhm.
Pretty good.
Yep.
I don't know. I like it. Also a
Also
transmutation
transmutation.
spell.
Next one up is
Which
True
I would have
Strike. Yeah.
thought that'd be Conjuration, but
Mm, yeah, I guess. Could be either. Next up is
get
True
on it,
Strike,
Blizzards.
and we talked about this before the stream. This is the one spell that we don't necessarily agree with how this spell is set up
Nope.
because it's concentration, it's divination, it's 30-foot range, and it's an action. This
Yeah.
would be really good if this one was a bonus action
Yeah.
because you have to cast it on yourself, I think. Or no, at a
Yeah.
target. But
Or
it
at a
also
target.
like uses your it uses your action to do it. But
Yeah.
then if you it gives you advantage on your first attack roll against against the target. But the issue with that is if you play in a game like Affy does her initiative in Mistwalkers, it where the initiative changes every round. It's not the same. You don't go in the same order. It makes it very hard to plan out when to use a spell like this because you don't know if that target is going to go after you the next round.
Yeah.
So,
And
you know,
also, I mean, just the idea that you're using your whole action to give yourself advantage on an attack roll, but your attack roll is also an action. So, like,
yeah, exactly.
the only logical way you could do this is if you cast it right as uh
Combat starts.
combat starts, like you get in before the initiative so that you can
And hope that
actually
they go after you.
yeah. Because it is concentration. If you lose concentration on it, you don't have
Mhm.
advantage.
Yep.
It'd be great if this was a bonus action.
Yep.
It'd be great if this was a bonus action. Because otherwise it's basically useless. In my opinion.
And last but
Yeah,
not least of
divination spell.
cantrips. Yep. Last but not least for cantrips is Vicious Mockery, the bard's bread and butter.
Yep.
It's an enchantment spell, a 60-foot range. You insult people. It's amazing. I
Yep.
love it.
Yep.
My bard on Sunday nights, Smudge, she uses this spell all the time. It's great.
Yep. It's also great. I mean, it only does a d4 of damage. However, it does psychic damage, which again is not something a lot of creatures are resistant or immune to.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives disadvantage on their next attack roll.
And it levels,
Yeah.
which
So
I have
like,
to remember for that for Smudge because I keep forgetting.
and Lord knows there's nothing more satisfying than insulting someone to death.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. It's great. I love that as a bard. It's amazing
Yep.
because as bards, you don't often get the killing blow. You're
Nope.
almost all of the bards are, except with the exception of the College of Swords, most bards are
Mhm.
utility characters, which is great. Like I love doing that. And this is a good spell for like, you know, it's great if it works and you kill somebody with it because you basically just insulted them to death. So,
Yeah. Also, it's hilarious.
exactly.
Always.
Exactly. Some of the can like some of the things that you can say are great.
Yeah. You could keep a list.
I have a list for
Be
Smudge.
awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, I have a list for Smudge. I think my
Uh,
favorite one that I've ever used was like when we were I think it was very early on in Legacy of Fire and we were fighting basically the pit of Sarlacc from Star Wars. It was like this big thing that came up out of the desert, tried to eat all of us, and
oh no.
Sm- Smudge just yelled at it. When the gods put teeth in your mouth, they ruined a perfectly good asshole. It was great. It was great. That was one of my
Oh
favorite
no.
nights.
Really good. That's really
It's a
good.
good night. And that one's got a
Uh
60-foot radius and it's enchantment. So,
enchantment.
which is good.
It is good.
Mm.
That's the end of the cantrips. I
Yep.
love a good cantrip, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when you get into higher levels, you forget about them, but you can do some serious damage with a cantrip.
Yeah.
And then you can do something else as a bonus action or
Mm-hmm.
they're sometimes really good in a pinch. Some of them have really, like we talked about, like some of these, like shocking grasp or whatever, like they can slow your opponent's speed down, or they can keep them from regenerating, or they can keep them from taking reactions. Like all of that is so good.
Yeah. It's great. So, well, that's the end of the cantrips. We have 3 pages of first level spells to get through. So the question now is, do we keep going for a little bit, or do we pick up there next time? Because it's a lot. Like, we knew that the spells were going to be a
It is
lot,
a
but
lot.
like, do you want to
Yeah,
just
I
finish
mean,
this
half.
page? Get down to comprehend languages?
Sure, we could do that.
So we'll
I might
start
go to
with.
the bathroom first, if you
Okay,
don't
yeah,
mind.
we'll go on a break real quick, and then we'll come back in like 5 minutes, and
All
then
right.
we'll finish up this page of spells. So we'll see you guys in just a few minutes.
Hit filter. Come on now.
Okay, we back. Hello, everybody.
Hello. I'm waiting for
Pasta is here as
my.
well. She
There we
keeps trying
go.
to beat up my microphone. All right, so we are picking up
Where
with
does
first level spells real quick. First one, Alarm. It's an abjuration spell.
alarm?
Makes sense because it's a protection spell, kind of.
Yeah.
This one you can cast as a ritual, which is nice. Which means that it takes 10 minutes plus the casting time of the spell. So for this, it takes
Yeah.
11 minutes to cast the spell if you use it as a ritual. It's got a 30-foot range, and it lasts for 8 hours. You set an alarm against unwanted intrusion, choose a door, window, area within a range that is no larger than a 20-foot cube. Till the end of the spell, or until the spell ends, an alarm alerts you whenever a tiny or larger creature touches or enters the warded area. So I've seen this used as a like protection spell for like nighttime a
Mm-hmm.
lot. You see it for that. It's also nice to like throw it in a dungeon against your players when they're not paying attention because they're looking
Oh.
for regular traps, but they're not looking for magical traps.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times they're like, you know, and if you don't have dispel magic, I don't think you can get rid of it. So
Mm-mm.
unless you set it off, but
Yeah.
um,
You can set it to do a mental alarm or an audible alarm,
yep.
which I kind of like. That would work well for like the dungeon thing that you were talking about. That
Mm-hmm.
would be like
Yeah,
boop boop
yeah,
boop.
for sure.
That's pretty great.
And the audible alarm is for 10 seconds within 60 feet. So that's a pretty good noise. And then
Mm-hmm.
the mental alarm is up to a mile.
Yeah,
So
and it will ping you if you're sleeping.
yep.
It'll wake you up. That's a good spell.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Next one, animal friendship. This is
I
enchantment.
have
Go
not
figure.
I have not used this a lot,
Yeah,
but
it
I
doesn't come
have
up that often.
uh-uh. But it's basically exactly what it sounds like. You get to be friends with a beast.
Mm,
It has to be of the beast creature type to be specific. So like
yes. So like, fairy creatures and stuff like that wouldn't count. But
wouldn't
like
count.
horses and wolves and
Yeah.
bears, all those fun things.
If the beast's intelligence is 4 or higher, the spell fails. So it also can't be like an awakened
Yeah.
creature.
Yep. And then they have to succeed on a wisdom save, and the spell ends if somebody hurts it. So,
Mm-hmm. You're
which is cool.
basically charming an animal
Yep.
to do
And
what
this
you
is
want.
one you can upcast. So, like for each additional spell slot you spend or spell level you spend, you can do an additional target. So,
And it lasts 24 hours.
yep, which is nice.
Pretty cool.
Let's see, what do we got after that? Armor of Agathis. So I've never used this spell, but I've heard of it. I think
It's
is
pretty
this the one
good.
that Ford had?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's mostly warlocks, and I think there's a paladin
Oath
oath
of
that
Oath of
gives it to.
Conquest.
But it basically like you get like covered in frost, and whenever someone hits you, they take 5 points of damage. Once the 5 points are taken away, because it gives you 5 temporary hit points as well.
Mm-hmm.
Once that's gone, the spell ends. But if you upcast it, so like it's really nice for a warlock because their spell slots are all whatever the highest level they can cast is.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you cast this on yourself at level 5, that's 25 points of damage that someone would take if they hit you.
Yep.
It's pretty good. It's also 25 temporary hit points you get.
Yeah, which is nice.
Which is a lot.
Because warlocks are glass cannons. Not as bad as like wizards, but they're still glass cannons.
Yeah. Pretty good spell.
That's an abjuration spell. So.
Yep.
We've got Arms of Hadar after that. This is a conjuration spell. This has got a 10-foot radius.
If you like Eldritch
feet,
Horror, this is the spell for you.
Yep. This is the tentacle spell.
Yep.
Tendrils of dark energy erupt from you and batter all creatures within 10 feet of you. Each creature in that area must make a strength saving throw. On failed save, they take 2d6 necrotic and can't take reactions. On a save, they take half as much, which is nice when a spell still does the half.
Yes.
So, and then you can increase the damage.
Thing about these.
Yeah, you can increase the damage depending on what level spell you spend it at. So
be good.
And that's a conjuration spell, obviously. Then after that, we have Bane. I love Bane.
Bane is the next spell. It's a concentration spell. It lasts for a minute. But whenever you cast it, you can cast it on up to 3 creatures, which is great. And also, they have to make a charisma saving throw, which is not necessarily something that your enemies are going to be great at. And so, like, not a lot of spells have charisma saving throws. And so, if they fail that, then they're baned, and every time they make an attack roll or a saving throw, they must subtract a d4, which you'd be surprised how often that means they miss or fail a save.
Yep.
It can be clutch.
Yeah, yep. It definitely can make a difference. I've seen it, like, especially in like lower level stuff too. I've seen it where that can really make a difference on whether it hits or not. So
yeah,
which is good. And then if you upcast it, you can target additional creatures.
Yep.
So which is nice. Next one is Bless, which is very similar.
Bless,
but it does like
it's very
the opposite.
similar. But it works in your favor as far as it helps your friends instead of hurting
the enemies. Yep. So.
Yeah. So you can target up to 3 creatures once again, and whenever your friends make an attack roll or saving throw, they get to add a d4 to the number they roll. So again, you'd be surprised how often a d4 makes the difference in whether or not you hit or whether or not you save.
Yep. Yeah.
Can be clutch.
Yep.
Worthwhile. And that one's also enchantment.
And
I think
also
it's interesting that these are enchantment. Yep.
I mean, I guess it makes sense because you're technically altering the person's like abilities, I guess, rather than altering the person themselves. I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It makes sense to me, but
some of them just do.
And let's see what we got next.
Burning Hands is next. I think this one is interesting because it gives a very specific description of how it's supposed to be cast. And I don't know if that's maybe because there's an image of someone casting it in the PHB.
Yeah, this is one of the few spells that has like an image associated with it.
Yeah.
So
Or maybe it's because it's in a cone, and so like
yeah, so they want like you spread it out that way. So
um
makes sense.
but yeah, you do a cone of fire basically in
Yes.
front of you. And so it's a 15-foot cone. And anyone that fails to save takes 3d6 fire damage or half on a success.
Yep.
Also, again, since it's a fire spell, it ignites any flammable objects that aren't being worn or carried.
Yep. So that's also something to keep in mind if you're like using it in like a closed area or something like that.
Hmm.
Something to keep in mind. Um
And that one's evocation.
yep. Yeah, most fire spells are, I've noticed. Most of them are evocation.
Yeah.
So
Uh, Charm Person is next. Good bard spell, but also available for like druids,
mhm.
sorcerers, warlocks, wizards, and trickery clerics.
Yep.
And it basically lets you charm someone. It lasts an hour as well.
Mhm.
So even beyond the context of a combat. If you are in combat, I think they have advantage, don't they?
Uh, yes, if you or your companions are fighting it.
Yep.
So, and then when the spell ends, the creature knows that it was charmed. So
Yes.
that's one of
Uh
those you set it and you set it and you leave kind of spells.
there's I think there's a lady on TikTok that does like cooking stuff, and she always says love it and leave it alone.
Yep. Set it and forget it.
And exactly. I also think it's interesting. The way it describes it is the charmed creature regards you as a friendly acquaintance.
Mhm.
When the hour is over or when the spell ends, the creature knows it was charmed by you.
Yep.
Interesting.
And let's see, you can target additional creatures with this one if you upcast it. So,
Yeah.
a handy spell. Let's see. After that, we've got Chromatic Orb. I like Chromatic Orb. It's an evocation spell.
Yeah.
It's got a 90-foot range, which is nice. You hurl a 4-inch diameter sphere of energy at a creature you can see within range, and this one you can choose acid, cold, fire, lightning, poison, or thunder damage. And you make a ranged spell attack, and if it hits the creature, they take 3d8 of the damage you chose. You can increase the damage for each spell slot that you use above that, which is nice.
Yeah.
Um,
I like this spell a lot because you can choose the damage. So it's
yep.
actually very good for when like situations change,
Mhm.
or if you find that the thing that you're fighting is resistant to something, you can just switch it up and
Yep.
cast it again and
Yep.
still does a good bit of damage,
And
even for just a first level.
this one requires a component that costs gold. You need a diamond worth at least 50 gold. So
Yep.
this is one of those ones that like you have to have that specific component in order for the spell to
Yeah.
work. So,
Another evocation one because you're doing damage.
mhm.
Um, Color spray is the next one. It's very interesting to me. It's a 15-foot cone that radiates out from you,
Mhm.
and it's an illusion. It says a dazzling array of flashing colored lights springs from your hand. Roll 6d10. This is how many hit points of creatures the spell can affect. Creatures in a 50-foot cone originating from you are affected in ascending order of their current hit points. So it starts with the lowest and goes up. Starting with the creature that has the lowest hit points, each creature affected by this spell is blinded until the end of your next turn. Subtract each creature's hit points from the total before moving on to the creature with the next lowest hit points. A creature's hit points must be equal to or less than the remaining total for the creature to be affected.
Mhm.
So this is It's an interesting spell. It's similar to a spell called Sleep,
Yep.
where basically
You do
it
the
hits
same
the weak
thing.
people first.
Yep. And
But
this
it
one,
is,
y- so
I
this
feel like
one, let's see.
this is really nice for low-level enemies. Because if you got a room full of goblins, you could affect a lot of goblins in a 15-foot cube.
Yes. But the other downfall of this one, depending on whether or not your DM is a dick, it can affect your party members, just like sleep.
Yes. Yep.
So,
Yep.
again, that's something to keep in mind because it goes by hit points, not whether or not they're friendly to you or not. So, sleep is very much the same way, and we'll talk about that later because that will come up on the list.
Yeah.
But a good spell, illusionary.
It is handy
Um,
to have a group of enemies blinded.
because he gives them disadvantage on their attacks, which is good.
Yep. And it
So,
gives you advantage against them. So
mhm.
it only lasts for a round, but it's nice.
Yeah. Hi, pasta.
Um, Speaking of nice spells that only last a round, I don't know why I'm doing all this speaking of this time, but it just seems like some of these spells go together, even though they're just in alphabetical order.
Mhm.
Uh, Command. This is actually a pretty good one to have in your pocket,
Mhm.
especially like as a cleric or someone who's more interested in um manipulating like the situational reality less
Mhm.
than the hit points or something. Um so it's an enchantment spell. It has a 60-foot range, and basically you speak a one-word command to someone within 60 feet, and if they fail on their wisdom saving throw, they have to follow the command.
Yep.
They do have to understand the language that you're speaking.
And
So,
yeah.
there's that. They
And
can't be undead.
it also can't cause them to damage themselves.
Yes. But, like, you can cause them to go prone.
Mhm.
You could cause them to just
Run away.
hold still. You could cause them to run away. Yeah. You could cause them to drop their weapons. Um, yeah, it gives several examples. When you cast it at a higher level, you can affect an additional creature.
Mhm. Which is good.
Um, there's an interesting combat and Critical Role campaign 2 where Caduceus, the cleric, uses this against a construct. And it works pretty well.
Mhm.
I don't know if you remember that one.
Is that when
It's when they're in the
that's when they're in the
Happy
mage's
Fun
trap
Ball.
thing, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
the happy fun ball. Okay. Yep. Yeah, and that's an enchantment spell. So, next up is Compelled Duel, which I don't know that I've ever used this spell. I've seen it, like I've read the spell, but I don't know that I've ever used it before. It's concentration, it's enchantment. Um and so you attempt to compel a creature into a duel. One creature that you can see within range must make a wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, the creature is drawn to you compelled by your divine demand. For the duration, it has disadvantage on attack rolls against creatures other than you. Must make a wisdom saving throw each time it attempts to move to a space that is more than 30 feet away from you. If it succeeds on its saving throw, the spell doesn't restrict the target's movement for that turn.
Yeah.
Uh,
This is a paladin spell.
yeah.
So it's
Mm.
basically a tank's gonna tank kind of thing. It
Mhm.
lets you soak damage and protect your friends.
It's similar to goading attack, but it lasts longer.
Yeah, yeah.
Because goading attack is like you're a fighter and you hit somebody and they have to attack you back.
Yep.
Whereas that only lasts for the one round, but this one goes more than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, which is, it can be nice in some
It
situations. And
can
if
be
you're the
nice.
paladin and you're just tank boy, then, you know,
Yep.
you're going to do what you're going to do.
I think I don't know. I'd have to look. I think I've seen them use this in Dimension 20 before, because
Maybe.
they've had a number of people play paladins. And it's just really good to protect other people. And also, like, yeah, they have to make a wisdom saving throw to even try to attack somebody else. Or get away from you.
Okay.
Like, they can't even move away from you.
Yep. Yeah, which is good. And then the last one on this page, we're looking at comprehend languages. This is good. I like this spell, especially as College of Lore Bard.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. It's a divination spell. It allows you to read, or you understand the meaning of any spoken language that you hear. You also understand any written language that you see, but you must be touching the surface on which the words are written.
Yeah.
Takes about a minute to read one page of text. So
Craney has this in her spectacles
Mhm.
once per day, but she does also have this as part of her divination wizard abilities.
Yeah. Smudge also has this spell. Smudge is a
It's
College of
nice.
Lord Bard.
Yeah.
So
Um,
yeah.
yeah, and it lets you read fast too.
This one you can
Takes
also
about a
cast as
minute.
a ritual. So
Yeah. Which means if you're a wizard and you have your spell book, you can use this even when you don't have it prepared.
yep,
Which is
which is
great.
good.
Did
Mhm.
you may have already said the part at the end, but if it's like glyphs or runes or something, it doesn't necessarily decode it.
Mhm. Yeah, so
Or if it's like a secret message, it doesn't tell you what the secret message means. It
like it
just
wouldn't decode like thieves can't, or
right, right,
anything that's written in like a cipher of some kind.
yep.
So
Or any kind of like arcane
yeah,
symbols or anything like that. Yeah.
yep, which is which is cool.
It does last an hour, so you could get a lot of reading done.
hmm Yeah, if it takes a page or a minute to read a page, yeah, you could get quite a bit done. So,
Quite a bit.
um, but yeah,
Cool.
well, that's kind of it for right now. We're gonna come back to this. We've got a bunch more first level spells to get through. But, like we knew this was going to be an undertaking when we started it, so
Yeah.
like we're just gonna pace ourselves a little bit and
But you know what? The spellcaster in me, because that's what I prefer to play. I love this stuff.
yeah, yep,
And it is interesting because like some of these spells don't get used a lot. Like there are some that are really popular and for a reason because they're super useful. Like you see command used a lot, you see bane used a lot. You know, obviously, like once we get to like cure wounds, stuff like that, obviously those are used a lot too.
mm-hmm,
And even like some of the cantrips like Eldritch Blast, whatever. But it is interesting, like if it's a cantrip or something that I haven't used a lot, or a spell that I haven't used a lot, it's really interesting to see some of the little bits and pieces that are hidden in there. Kind of
yes,
like it. I just like
yeah.
it. I like
I
magic. I
I
like
like
magic
playing
worlds. I
casters
like,
too. I
yeah.
like a mix of them. I think that's why I really like the war
Mhm.
domain clerics because they can still tank if they need
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
you know. But also, like I'm glad now in Mistwalkers that we have somebody else who can also tank, so that the only healer is not tanking.
Yeah.
Because if I go down, we are so screwed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know.
Well,
I like casters. I like being able to do magic. So, yeah.
it is fun too, because some of these really are geared towards more martial classes.
Yes.
Like it is fun to see those. Like the compelled duel one, obviously you're not gonna do that as a sorcerer.
Yeah, no,
Like
that would be
you
really
have a
dumb
D6
and
hit die,
life threatening.
and yeah, you would die immediately. Um, but so it is, and like classes that I don't get to play that often. It's really interesting. I
hmm
like it.
Yeah. And it's nice to see like the crossover between what classes have them,
Mm-hmm.
like what classes have what spells. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
it is cool.
it's fun.
Well, thank
Well,
you for joining us.
yeah.
We like talking about spells. We hope you like talking about spells because we're gonna be on this for a while.
hmm
Uh
Yeah, it's
As
gonna be a minute.
always, if you have if you have anything that you would like us to talk about or anything you have questions about, feel free to send it our way.
Mhm.
And
I always answer my phone.
can you tell by the sleep deprived look? No.
Oh my god. We're getting
um,
ready for Spooktober, and I'm just like, I guess I'm just not sleeping until the end of October. It's fine.
no, you have to. We need you to be able to function.
Oh, who needs sleep? But yeah.
All right.
Well, we're gonna get out of here. I guess we will see you when we see you. You guys have a good weekend, and for here and for Canada for sure, it's a holiday weekend. So hopefully, like, you guys have a good weekend and you enjoy all of that. And
Yeah.
if you want to participate in Spooktober, you have to go to our Discord so that you can tell me that you want to participate. We do still have a couple of games open. Not many. They're starting to fill up real quick now, but we do have a couple that are open. So yeah, I guess we'll see you
Thanks,
when we see
Liz.
ya. Bye, Liz.
Bye.